Hello everyone, this is just a small video to show you how to store compost at home. Let's first start with the different containers. You can either recycle any plastic container that you usually buy, like for example this yogurt container can be used to store compost material at your home while you fill it up and then put it in the compost bin. You can also use this old spring mix kind of salad container, or you can also use a Tupperware, plastic Tupperware, like similar to the ones that you use to store food. This is another kind of container that you can get in Amazon, and this is particularly only for compost, and you can put just a plastic bag inside and then start putting the material here and then close it. It is really good to have it at home outside the fridge, and it's good for containing the different smells. Okay, now when you have decided the kind of container that you're going to use, for example, I'm going to use this yogurt container to store some of the food scraps. I want to show you how different food scraps can be processed so they can have so we can have a smaller size, and that way the decomposition could be better. For example, if you have eggshells, you just have to crush them. This is because eggshells take a long time for the decompose. So you just have to crush the eggshells like this. And then they are ready for the compost bin. Other kind of food scrap that you usually have at home are these used tea bags, and some of them have these labeled plastic. Those plastic labels should be removed, but this one that has just a paper kind of label can go in the compost. So you just have to destroy the bag like this. Or you can also have, for example, coffee filters. Coffee is really good to contain the bad odors sometimes of the compost that we have at home. You just have to destroy it a little bit like this. As these are paper, and sometimes they sell the compostable coffee filters, those work, but also the regular paper ones also work very well. And this is how it should look like. Another kind of food scraps that we can have at home are fruit peels. For example, this orange peel, you can either cut it in small pieces, anything smaller than 5 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters, something like an inch is perfect. And we usually have at home in our kitchens scissors, so we can use scissors to make this easy. Or for example, this banana peel can also be cut in little pieces, and this is just an extra step. With the banana peels particularly, sometimes in some fruit peels, you will notice that some fruits have plastic labels. You should remove those plastic labels before cutting them and putting in the compost, because those plastics are not going to decompose. During the summer, we also eat a lot of watermelon, and in this case I don't use the scissors, but I use just a knife, and you can just try to cut the pieces as small as you can. This is very important because this is super full of cellulose and it takes a long time to decompose. So you just have to cut them in small pieces and then put it in the container that you will then store either in the fridge or in the freezer. It depends of what do you prefer and the space that you can have. An additional note is that if you have leftovers of, for example, rice, cooked rice, pasta, bread, or any kind of food that does not contain meat or dairy, you can also add it into the compost. If, for example, you made like some rice with meat, and you can remove as much pieces as meat as possible from the rice before put it into the compost, this is just perfect. This is to avoid bad odors, and also because it takes longer for them to decompose. So once we have our food container at home full, like this one, we just come to the compost bin that we got located in different garden plots. This one is located next to the garden plot that is just right next to the peace garden. And you will notice that there are two kinds of signs. One that says in use, and one that has the forbidden sign. So please use this one, the one that says in use. And the only thing that you have to do is just open the lid, toss everything there, and then you close the lid, put your container apart, and then after that spin it. If you notice that it's not that full in this case, you can only spin it. You should only spin it once, but the fuller it gets, the more spins you will need. So usually try to do it like 3 times or 5 times until you feel that everything is being mixed. This is done to let the air inside the compost bin, and this helps to let some oxygen inside that will also help with the decomposition process.
After a couple of years of using this compost bin, like it's the case for this pilot study one, what you are going to see is that one of the compartments is almost full, but in this case it has also got very wet. And it's got many mosquitoes and also not very pleasant odors. So what we are going to do in this case is mix this material with the one from the previous year, which looks much more drier. And it will also allow us to empty one of the compartments, so to free up space for continuing the use of these compartments. And for this, what we are going to do is empty this material in one bucket to do the transfer. So we are gonna need the participation of both the garden plot leaders and other neighbors when it comes the time to transfer the material. So we'll keep working on emptying all of this material that, as you can see, is very wet. Maybe most of the materials that were put in here were very moist, and that's why we've gotten this texture for this. So we'll continue to do this, and when we are finished, we'll just transfer all of this material in this other one, and we'll give it a good mix, turning the compost bin as we see that it's getting very full. Okay, so all of the material has been already transferred, and now it got really full. We may lose some of the volume due to the loss of water. However, this is already full, and it's gonna go over the season until next year, when this will be mostly ready to be added to the garden plots. So the way to add to the garden is directly to the garden where the seedlings for tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever will be planted. So about 2 weeks before planting the seedlings. And one last step is to add some of this compost starter to the bin to help with the decomposition. So this powder contains a group of microbes, mainly yeast. You can also see some mycelia here, which is normal. That is part of the groups of the bacteria and fungi that will help to decompose. So this comes granulated, and we'll just add that amount, which is fairly 1 scoop or up to one cup of the decomposition starter. To this compartment that got mostly emptied, there's a little bit of material that we have left also as an starter for the coming material to come in here and have some of that already active bacteria. And then we'll always remember to turn it around, to spin it for at least 3 or 5 times, depending on the amount of the material that is in there. And that's it. Have fun composting and use it in your garden plots.
An additional note is that when you get to the compost bin, you should usually check how full it is. Like for example, this one is very full and it has the sign of in use. But if you notice that it's this full, it is better to change the sign to one bin that is a little bit more empty, like this one, and put it like this, and then put the do not use sign in here. And then remember, it's never too bad to spin a couple of times. And this is like the fun part if you think about it.